Hey tankers, and welcome back to World of Tanks with PR154, where we are having an absolute nail-biter of a game here in the Sturer Emil. It's a Tier 7 German tank destroyer, and that leads on to the Jagdpanzer E100 line. Now, at this point, I'm actually playing it through as part of my Road Less Travelled. As part of my Battle Pass selection, I take the tank that I had the worst win rate in, or the tank that I have the least games played in it. At the point of tank selections for Battle Pass, Sturer Emil was it. I'd played the least game, and it's still in a pretty close to stock configuration. I still have the stock tracks. I still have the stock 105mm main gun, which is a bit of an issue for us here, particularly in this game since we're bottom tiered. To give you an idea of where this gun sits, it penetrates for 169mm, which is really at the low end of where you want to be in a tank destroyer when you're facing off against tier 8s, but fortunately the premium shells do penetrate for 227, which is going to be marginally useful. Now, there are a few other useful features about the tank. It does keep the 15 degrees gun depression that is common to this and the tier 6 premium vehicle Dicker Max, so that's always helpful. Unfortunately, it is very slow. It is a lumbering heap of crap that I've really struggled to get into position in a lot of the games that I've played in it. Now, that's despite running a turbocharger. I am running, because I don't have the proper undercarriage yet, I'm still running improved hardening just to improve that suspension capacity. But I really don't think there's going to be too much else I can run on this vehicle to attempt to make it any faster. So it's a very slow vehicle. So there's not a lot to like about it at the moment. It's slow. It doesn't penetrate well. The rate of fire is pretty good though. I can't complain. If I just check my my trusty Tanks GG over here, you get 2400 damage per minute, even with the stock 105mm. And you get a little bit less than that when you get the full 12.8 centimeter gun. But with the 12.8 centimeter, you do get a hell of a lot more penetration, 231mm of penetration. That's more penetration on the standard than we're getting here loaded with the premium. So at this stage, we are conscious we can't do too much from the front, but we can do a little bit from the back. We have positioned in a way that we can, if I just grab the cursor back over here, that we can sort of cover the field out here if there's anything that starts to attack us. Now, I can see that our heavy tanks are making a reasonable dent in pushing forward through that area, so we're shifting slightly so that we can assist some of our comrades, hopefully get our gun into the game. We're still reasonably well covered from this position as well, and we do have, with the T29 being up here, the T28 being here, that we have a reasonable idea of where the enemy light tanks are. In fact, we can see where they've been on the map. The AMX 1357 has been up here, and the Setter is currently on base, shredding our AMX 1375 that, for reasons known only to itself, decided to make a run on the cap. So we are rounding on Driver David here in the IKV. A swing and a miss there. That was a little bit expensive. So we do have the premium shells loaded. I could have possibly switched to a cheaper ordnance at this point in time, but I guess where my mind was at, I'd seen tanks starting to fall in this area. I'm seeing tanks falling in the archipelago here, for want of a better description. I need to brush up on some of my terrain features. So I thought, well, we really need to kill whatever we're shooting at pretty quickly. So I've just... This wasn't necessarily a case of red mist or anything like that. I really wanted the penetration, I really wanted the kills, and I really wanted to be able to move on to the next target. In this case, a low hit point T29. So we've knocked that out of the game. Unfortunately, the VZ44 has been able to knock out our T25-2 that led a brilliant defense there, but we've been able to knock out that VZ44 in turn for our third kill of the game. Now at this point in time, we are still a gun down, although roughly equal on hit points. We only have 2 self-propelled guns that are directly defending the cap circle, so this is going to be a bit of a problem. We also see our T29 about to be rounded on by several enemy vehicles. We line up on the SU-122-44 and send that back to the garage. Unfortunately, the AMX 1357 has knocked out our T29. So the only thing left for us to do now is to get back and try to defend the cap. Now what a fight we're in for here. We've got a full hit point VK 101p bearing down on the cap. Fortunately, at least one of our artillery pieces has been able to give it a bit of a repair bill. So that's going to help us a little bit. We still have 4 of the premium APCR left in the vehicle as well, which, as we said, that penetrated for what, 227 millimeters, so enough to deal with certain parts of VK 100p. And we're getting sight of turret here, which is great. They seem to be focused on dealing with the self-propelled guns. That suits us just fine. We've got our VK 4502A that's also putting shots into the VK 101p. VK 4502A is going for it. The Purple Biscuits in the T29 has been able to knock out the AMX 1357 that was being such a plague to quite a few members of our team. I mean, they'd taken out 3 of our tanks. So the VK 101P is on 38 hit points. We've loaded the high explosive and tried to save our premium shells for something else. So we come around the corner, we aim, we swing, we miss. Well, we don't miss, we just don't penetrate anything, but that's all right. The VK 4502A is able to push up and take the kill. This is very tense at this point in time. We have 2 tank destroyers and a light tank left on the enemy team. The light tank trying to push up between the 2 rocks here and just meeting the VK 4502A, so they decided, no, we're not going to push that. Not sure where that T25-2 is, but I'm going to waltz around, I'm going to try and put a hole in it, and there we are, front of that vehicle. Now we have switched back to the standard rounds, reasonably confident that we can punch a hole through most of what we see. Second round goes into the T25-2, knocking it out. A reasonable rate of fire that you get here with the stock 105mm. It's just a real trade down on penetration, as we can see in comparison to the 12.8cm. In that time, our teammate in the VK 4502A has been able to knock out the T103. So this just leaves the setter and the M40, M43 self-propelled gun. So we've finally been able to turn the battle in our favour. Having said that, I mean, you've got one of the best passive light tank scouts at tier 7 that you're trying to deal with, and a self-propelled gun. So there's still a lot of opportunity for these 2 vehicles to work together to light up targets, and for the SPG to knock it out. M4043, it's just one of those SPGs that whenever you get knocked out, you look at which SPG knocked you out, and you think, oh, why is it always you? But in any case, it is the setter that was able to knock out our Lorraine 155-50. So we've still got the setter running around. I don't really want to give too much chase to it, although it's not the most agile of light tanks. At the end of the day, I'm still in a tank destroyer with a fairly fixed gun travel. So if I get tracked, then I can get smacked pretty bloody quickly. Not forgetting as well, they have an SPG. And now we don't. So that option of strategic fire is just simply not available to us. Now we've been able to spot the setter. It's spotted us in turn. We have received a little bit of incoming fire from the SPG. So we do have to be conscious that shell is going to keep coming every time the setter sees us. Every time the setter spots us, well, that might be an opportunity for it to get an angled shot on us. We are pushing forward, however. We do proximity spot the setter once again. Of course, it proximity spots us, as you would expect. and we end up on opposing sides of this rock. Now, we have a high explosive shell loaded, which penetrates for 53mm and hits for 380, so a slight high roll might be enough to actually send this Tier 7 British light tank back to the garage. It tries to get a parting shot into us as it comes over the track, but as a lot of folks would find if they've played these British lights, they really don't get a lot of gun depression when they have the turrets pointed behind, which can be a little bit problematic since they tend to be rear turreted vehicles. Unfortunately, we'd held the gaze of the self-propelled gun for a little bit too long. It was expecting us to make that poke, and it has given us a hell of a hit here. 566 hits, 566 hit points taken off rather, which leaves us in a one-shottable state for the setter. So a bit of a dangerous spot to be in, but we're advancing up our side of the rail tracks here. VK4502A is advancing up the other. So this is a great thing. This will stop that setter from popping over the top and really harassing us. So the VK4502 is moving up on it. We've got Purple Biscuits in the T29 moving up through the K-line as well. So that's going to potentially take that self-propelled gun out of the equation. He's W keying with all due haste. VK4502A can probably handle themselves against the setter here. They still have more than half of their hit points left. We're still going to pop over the ridge anyway and present a bit of crossfire here because we can. We'll come in over this bush. We have been spotted anyway, but that's no worries at all because we've been able to send the setter back to the garage there. Just leaves the M40, M43 knocked out by Purple Biscuits in the T29. So that is a win for us. A bit of a tense game there, but let's take a quick look at the results. So for our efforts, despite being practically stock, we've come away with an Ace Mastery badge from bottom tiered in the Tier 7 German tank destroyer Sturer Emil. We've also picked up 2 Battle Heroes medals here, High Calibre for accounting for at least 20% of the hit point pool of enemy vehicles, and the Top Gun medal for destroying at least 6 enemy vehicles. Now we've hit the lower limit of that. On the damage teeth, we've caused over 3,000 hit points worth of damage, and of course picking up the Fire for Effect medal, which it's very rare that you get this without getting this. Having a look at the team scores, we have placed top on experience for this team by a decent margin, not to take away from the efforts of the T29 that was so instrumental in trying to press around and flank some of those vehicles that were contesting some of the southern approaches. Kudos on the enemy team to Rosie 2017 in the setter and Trumban Len in the M40, M43. They both played to their role quite well there, but unfortunately not carrying quite hard enough on this day. Having a look at the detailed report, this was a bit of an expensive battle for us. We did have another 52,000 credits coming our way, which was great. Otherwise, this would have been about a 16,000 credit deficiency for us, owing largely to the amount of premium ammunition that we've fired in that game. I guess that's some of the vagaries of running with a stock gun. However, again, our penetration on the premium ammunition on this vehicle is less than the standard ammunition with the top gun of the Sturer Emil. Although we do manage to get a slightly higher damage per minute, and we've been able to use that to great effect on the battlefield here today. So I'm quite happy with that result, as particularly in a tank that I have been struggling a little bit with on the win rate in its stock configuration, but hopefully through games like this and getting the top gun for the vehicle, I might be able to make a more consistent contribution to the team. In the meantime, if you've got a replay of your own that you'd like to see featured on World of Tanks with PR154, then please reach out over Discord or any of the links below. We'll do our best to sort you out. In the meantime, please do check out our About section on our YouTube channel that does carry the community submission guidelines, where we're looking for games like this in particular, where you've got an Ace Mastery, you've got bottom tiered, it's not been a rollover, it's been a close result. There's sort of the holy grail of replays that we love to see featured on the channel. In the meantime, take care out there.